where somebody tells them, not police officer, what they gotta go do. They don't understand that. These niggas' moms, these niggas' grandma's moms are 45, 50. I'm not arguing no niggas' mom, hey, over the PBS channel. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm just not. I'm not gonna get niggas so far. Like, my mama is saying that shit for free, dog. I'm not gonna argue no niggas' mama 45 for free. Get the fuck out of here.
Not too much on free.
Yeah, I get what you guys are saying about, the younger crew, but I guess my question is, being an older man myself, are we still in the, times when we were young, or in the times now? And sometimes we're stuck in our own minds of the older times, thinking about older, younger, thinking about things that happened, but things have changed, times have changed.
So let me tell you something. You said being an older man, right? And when we were growing up, I grew up in a situation where if you a young man, you're an older man, and you acting like you fucking don't want to take the knowledge, and you just want to be an asshole, then you left alone. Or if you want to step to a grown ass man, you can get your ass beat by a grown ass man. This shit, it's all the kids are fucking pussies acting the way they act like. I don't get if someone's fucking 17 years old, you're a fucking man by then.
Yeah, we in an era right now, man, where when I was coming up, I mean, they made Conan fashionable now. When I was growing up, we had Public Enemy, we had KRS-One, we had X-Clan. We had people who embraced being black and looked at being black like it was a cool thing, and we wanted to learn. We even had songs like KRS, You Must Learn. We were enlightened. Now these little niggas are growing up on Percocet, lean, and thinking that coonery is the thing to do and supporting Trump and don't even know what to stand on. They don't study shit. They don't learn shit. They just are lost. Like that dude who was on this panel right now trying to show grace. There are a lot of intelligent young people out there. There are some young people doing the right thing. But when we hear people like that man just now was on the stage saying, it makes you wonder how many other motherfuckers are thinking like this. And sadly and scarily, there are a lot of people thinking like him with this coolness, defeatist behavior where they supporting a rich, racist white man who has no love for you, and they can't even explain why. They spin in circles and shit. They will trade their own heritage in just to try to fit in with the Jersey Shore motherfucker. It's weird. It is the weirdest shit I've ever seen in my life. There is no knowledge whatsoever of even trying to have self-preservation for these motherfuckers. They don't want to sit here and coon our goddamn thing. I don't know if they get platforms that are paid to coon, if they just trolls that are put in by the clubhouse founders. Who the fuck knows? I'm scared of where this shit's going. It's cooning shit and it's sitting here and
Yeah, but I think we gotta work on our patience with these young people. Let's stop now. Honestly, I do think we do need to work on our patience with these young people. I do agree with Ryan. Now, if you're
So bring him back up, Patty, so he can make himself.
Ryan, are you white or black, Ryan? I gotta ask.
Don't do that now.
Talk, dude.
Remember Lil Yachty? Remember when Lil Yachty said that nonsense about? I want to know if Ryan is white or black.
No, I don't care if he's white or black. That's not the conversation.
I care because white man.
You go on mute and let black people speak for black.
Yeah, I'm just going to slightly build on it because, like, I mean, even if you weren't actively supporting
I'm a lot of.
I can't lie.
He's mixed. It doesn't matter. Just go on mute.
Yeah, he got the white man view.
Don't do that because most of the moderators that run this room, matter of fact, people that run this room are fucking biracial. So
I don't have a problem with that. I'm talking about him. He got a white man.
Let's okay, so what?
Yeah, so it ain't the same. That's what. So what I was going to say is that, just to add to that point, I don't even think people should people aren't required to actively be for the cause. There are a lot of people who, aren't for the cause. It's just because it just becomes concerning to me, particularly with this younger generation, where they're actively shit that I've never seen it before. I mean, I'm not that old, but this wasn't happening in the '90s. This wasn't even happening in the early 2000s, where people were just being like deliberately anti-black on tracks.
And I just want to say, and even when y'all talk about when we were young, no, we didn't do this. We had a chance to vote. I mean, when if you're 40 or late 30s, you voted, for Obama probably your first or second time. We could, chose to go a different way. We did not. These new young people are different. If you just listen to what he was saying, he couldn't be told anything. And then when you look in the chat, comprehension is not in the room. Now you have 10 plus adults, varying degrees of success and things, and that's your assertion is that nobody can comprehend you. That these young people are different. They are way, way more indignant and way more entitled than we ever were. So, I mean, to just think you know more than everybody on any stage, and to speak with such fervency and such audacity is just crazy, and you see it every fucking day. So, I mean, I think we should have patience with him, but he's the one who wouldn't be quiet, and he's the one who really wouldn't take it. And I don't think nobody yelled at him or anything, but that's a typical, YN. But like they said, if you take this back pre-internet, they can't survive. They can't. They talking about they want to go back to the 1940s. None of these niggas are married. None of these niggas are having babies in wedlock. They're just repeating talking points. So I don't know, bro.
Can I jump in? Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, I understand the level of cynicism, right? The accelerationist argument is basically saying, government doesn't work, it hasn't worked, it can't work, so just blow the whole thing up. But I think the one of the big things they're missing is the scale of human suffering seems to really be glossed over in that scenario. Like in this imagination where, okay, America just ends and then tomorrow we have something better or whatever. Like that's not really how it's gonna work. And I found it really troubling, the metaphor he used, right, where the American people are DV victims who have been abused by their government, and Trump is an even bigger abuser who's going to hurt them even more and get them to realize, through the means of government, and get them to realize, oh, this is abusive and I need to get out of it. I don't really think that metaphor stands. So I feel like if your primary motivation is not to reduce human suffering, then I just don't know what we're doing here. And I also think something that's missing is an understanding of how a dictatorship works. So this idea that somehow under Trump or those closely aligned with him, that things are going to get so bad that eventually the people just rise up and it all is over. That's not really how dictatorship works. Once they're in power, they can stay in power for many, many decades. And it doesn't matter how bad things are or how bad you want to get out of it. They're in control and they have the guns. And that's how it works.
It took the World War to get Hitler out of power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think maybe they're not really students of history and understanding the scale of the things that they're actually talking about. The last thing I'll say is just about the connection between evangelicalism and white supremacy. I mean, I'm sure so many of you know the quote by Martin Luther King about the Sunday morning church hour being the most segregated hour in America. And if you look at what a lot of these evangelical and Catholic churches are teaching, it is very closely aligned with white supremacy and with patriarchy. under the church system, like the modern day typical white church, it's basically all white people. All the white men are in charge. Women play a very like secondary, non-decision making role. Very few people of color are empowered in any kind of leadership except in their own personal homes. So when people talk about all this, oh, there's going to be like a revival in America, and there's going to be this, and there's going to be that, like when they talk about following God and Jesus, like they are imagining a very patriarchal white supremacist message. So I'll just land there.
And I'm glad you said that because a lot of what's happened to like, black people over the past few years, guys like Umar Johnson, Tariq Nasheed, this is a peel back to the 60s or the stronger time period when we had less rights but more unity, and they kind of placed this evangelical analysis of a pure time when people were much more simpler and the black folks lived across the tracks. And I don't think a lot of these younger people understand what they're exactly asking for or what they exactly believe in. They don't understand the idea of like, at one time black didn't have much autonomy outside their own house. And even then somebody come barging out to take what they wanted from you at will. They're not from a world where there was a black side of train tracks and there was a white side. So this appeal they have for this world they want to see just doesn't exist, and they lead themselves down. They lead themselves back into a segregated burning house this time.
So just with that, a couple of things. A lot of these kids are raised and taught in a bubble of like a post-racial society. If you have any children under the age of like from like 10 to 15, 16, you will have seen their curriculum and what like, especially if they live in like a liberal town, what kind of schooling that they go to. And I think a lot of them leave school and realize that we don't live in a post-racial society and don't really know how to deal with it. I think the death of expertise, everybody thinks that they know what they're doing because they have TikTok and they saw a couple of videos or went to YouTube University. It's really funny, like a lot of these kids want to tell you what to do with the internet when some of these things are, the things that they're using are things that you built. They have a get fast approach where they think that we just don't know how to do it fast enough, and they have some secret code that's going to get them richer and quicker. And lastly, they have no idea. These kids are on Amazon Prime. They're on Discord in these little bubbles. They have no idea what struggle looks like. Missing the bus and getting their jeans wet, not getting what they wanted. You see them crashing out in school because somebody took their phone away. What are they going to do in an anarchist situation? They have no idea. They have no idea.
Crystal, do y'all realize that if the government wants to, like if it's going to be a dictatorship, the government can just turn off the internet and that's it? Do they realize that?
And I think like the thing is like every generation did do a form of this, but the government was using them as useful idiots to forward an agenda that could change this fabric of the country forever. That's just my opinion.
Okay, but yeah, I agree with Ryan, y'all. We gotta have more patience with some of these younger people. Are these old motherfuckers that keep coming up here? Like the TCs and Anthony's, you ain't gonna be able to change that.
Can y'all hear me?
Go ahead, Chad.
Alright, I'm gonna
You
try
gotta
to.
change your name too. Just gonna keep thinking I'm talking. I'm gonna call you Jay.
That's cool. Alright, I'm gonna try to start off with this. Alright, so what I'm basically trying to articulate, it's kind of hard to articulate to people who already got a fixed mindset. So, alright, the disconnect between the younger people and the older people is the older people are not accepting new information. Because if you think about it, are the black families, that's the black
information big real quick.
No, new information or new ways of thinking. Like okay, you know how like Martin Luther King, I'm gonna just take it all the way back. You know how Martin Luther King was saying like, okay, he had a dream, white people, black people, like women had a family together. And then he turned around before he died and said he did us a disservice because he realized when he realized like, okay, these people were never gonna love us, they're never gonna let us get in a position, they never gonna do these things for it, they never gonna give us reparation, they're not gonna do the thing that they promised us. And then they killed him. So fast forward time, shit following government, getting all the vaccinations, we doing all these things that the government is telling us to do and having faith in them. And as time going on, we looking at our parents and we getting over, we not vaccinating our kids because we doing further research and learning the dangers of vaccines and how it plays a part in a lot of ADHD and bipolar and all type of behavior problems. So when we researching all this shit and we getting more educated with science and all this new information, not new information, but updated information, or real information. And if we try to come back and tell our parents and stuff like, hey, this is what we found out, this is why I'm not getting my baby vaccinated, then they want to still argue we don't know nothing. It's like, no, y'all was so a bunch of
They want parts after they get named and parts after him. They fucking
where all the girls is stripping and being hoes and all the niggas want to kill each other and we just fuck.
And that has to do with vaccines.
No, not vaccine. That was just an example.
Okay, so what I'm telling you is bipolar has nothing to do with vaccines. So when you guys come to us, because I have children in your age, how old are you? How old are you?
27. This 27.
Oh no, you're older than my kids. Okay, no problem. So when they come to me with this information that they got off of TikTok, Facebook,
It's TikTok.
Gotta have more patience. Bitch, you in the matrix. Bitch, you in the matrix.
Hello.
Is anybody else in here coming in and out, or is it me?
Yeah, she's coming in and out.
She coming in and out.
Am I coming in now?
Yeah, now you're.
Okay, let me make it quick.
You're back in the matrix.
No.
Change that motherfucker up.
You're in the matrix again, Lisa.
Holy cow. Okay, I'm coming.
All right.
So I do want to address something when you talk about Martin Luther King. He still believed in integration. What changed was economic justice. That's what it was.
And what was the game?
Yeah, and militarism. And it wasn't separation. He never turned to separation.
Yeah, there's a book you can get called Kingonomics by Dr. Rodney Sampson, and it takes a look at the economic philosophy of Dr. King in the last years of his life. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, he still wanted us to be able to integrate. It's more about economics. It was about systematic racism. And I think he was becoming more militaristic, right?
Yeah.
What is racism?
No, we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole because there's gonna be a big.
Okay, I'm gonna just say this. Economics definitely has racism has a part to play in economics. Racism is systematic.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
At times, all that's what the information on economics too.
Yeah.
So basically, what I was basically trying to say is, say your whole family get kidnapped, right? And the kidnappers have y'all live by these set of rules, and everybody's just like your whole family is just living by these rules. You have kids, and then your kids raise their kids to obey by these rules. And it's like this is the generation coming after me. We realizing that we have been fucking kidnapped, and we need to stop playing their fucking game. This is fucking sick. That's what I'm saying. So I want to say what Trump is doing, because Trump is fucking tearing this shit apart. This is what needs to happen.
This is not what he's done. So Jess, you brought up Martin Luther King, right? You ever heard of the Poor People's Campaign?
Yes.
So I want you to Google Poor People's Campaign and look at what's happening today. right? So like at that time when with the Poor People campaign or even the book that he recommended me read, he started to realize like white folks want to support us when it comes to civil rights. But their support is going to be fragile when they feel like they're going to lose power to resources, and that's what's happening now, right? So like I always bring up these little Psychology Today magazines and all this shit, the support for Donald Trump, white campaign. It's their access to resources, their access to power. They feel like they've lost that. They don't see us getting hosed. They don't see us sitting in the back of the bus, but they ignore the other difficulties that's going on, right? So because they don't see the fucking, they don't see that. They don't see dogs fighting our kids and shit. They don't see kids getting rocks thrown at them going into the schools. They think that we're on equal playing. And now they think we've taken their resources and they don't have power. And King predicted this in the end.
So, have you ever heard the saying, or not? It's not a saying, but you know, like when you clean up something, it like when you clean up a house, it looks fucked up before it actually gets clean.
What's going on? Are you trying to be a poet? Because you keep coming up with some things.
No.
He's giving a perspective on your office. So I want to like business. I do hear this quite a bit.
Okay, go ahead.
So like, it's like somebody had said it earlier. In order to get Hitler out of position, World War I had to happen, right? And it's crazy because y'all saying like World War II.
That was
World War II. Okay, World War II. It's crazy because like y'all saying stuff like the younger people don't know what hard times is and this and that. Like I'm from that generation like right before, like I'm still old enough to remember like missing the bus and all that shit. I'm way before iPhones and all this shit. I didn't grow up with an iPhone in my hand. I didn't grow up with computers. I didn't grow up with shit. We didn't have a TV in my room. Anyways, what I'm saying is.
I'm 27. I had computers and I was 40, so.
I had AOL.
I didn't have on the radio and bro said, anyway. What I'm saying is y'all don't understand struggle and this and that. However, although that is true, a lot of people haven't experienced a lot of stuff that y'all have experienced. We are more war ready and ready to fight for what we really believe than y'all ever have. We are more like the energy that we got towards each other, how we killing each other. We really want to take this towards the real opponents, but we don't have everybody backing us up, especially our elders. Y'all don't really want to die about this and really have to make a way in a different life for the people that's coming after us. Y'all don't really want to die about this shit. Y'all playing.
Let me just say something to you real quick, just because I just want to hold on 1 second. So, bro, I would implore you to just look up history. You're talking about, being ready to die. Go look at the murder rate when we were kids and the crime that was going on when we were kids. This, what y'all got going on is light fucking work. Y'all really think y'all are soldiers, and I'm all due respect, y'all are not, bro. Y'all have luxuries that we do not have. Y'all think y'all are ready for war. Y'all don't even understand what war is. Y'all have not had a crack epidemic. Y'all have not had the things that we have.
We are the byproducts of that.
Y'all are not the byproducts of the crack epidemic. You're not. You're not. And that's what we are. Sir, let me finish. You were allowed to talk. I mean, this is telling in and of itself. We allowed you to talk. Now I'm just interjecting to give you some information, and you don't want to take it. But what I'm telling you is you're abreast of what's going on right now, and you're talking about y'all are soldiers and y'all are killers. Y'all aren't. Y'all do a whole bunch let me finish.
This N-word is a killer.
Y'all do a whole bunch of internet banging and a whole bunch of chatting. Y'all do a whole bunch of cyber thugging, and then y'all do this drill music. This does not make you soldiers, and more importantly, it doesn't make you politically aware. You're just making noise, and you're an example
people
of it,
are
because the
weird.
things you're saying, you have no
generational experiences, how they see it is dangerous. And look, they lived through COVID, they lived through Trump, and they honestly may have a better perspective than many of us do because the world now is closer to how they see it than it is broader experience we had. What we know from 20 and 30 years ago isn't as relevant today because of Trump. Normally it would be, right? But the experience they have may give them a more realistic perspective in a lot of ways.
May I say something real quick? So I don't know. So real quick, we have grandparents and parents who lived through Jim Crowism in their particular states where they were virtually police states, right? Like you had to go be inside at a certain time because crackers would kill you. Like, so if anybody has a sense of what we're living through, it would be older folks who actually understood that, listen, if you spoke a certain way, if word got out that you were, talking about the white politician in town, people would show up to your crib and there'll be a different kind of story. So I hear where CEOs coming from, especially in terms of like technology and things of that sort.
And I was talking about Gen Xers, just to be clear, not baby.
I understand, but I'm also speaking about like folks just older versus younger, where as just like a general matter, like and even when it comes to Gen X, they understand what these stories are because their parents and their grandparents were telling them these stories, and they're the byproduct of their struggle. All right. Final point. I don't want to dismiss a few things. One, we have a concerted attack by this administration, state legislatures, state governors in red states to eliminate Black history in our schools. So any possibility of folks understanding what our history is constantly being attacked right now. What in South Carolina when they got rid of, I'm looking at this matter right now, South Carolina where they were doing the AP African American Studies program, there was a lawsuit filed. I'm not going to say filed it, but basically it's public record. But there was a lawsuit filed, and the court dismissed it. But this is like important stuff here, where like kids can't get access to Black history. And then the final point, which is a question for the gentleman who was speaking after that, 27 years old. So something was mentioned about like, okay, we're willing to die for what we believe in. Question and a point. I'm not really clear about what the younger generation believes in. Well, my former professor who died a few years ago, he actually was around when Malcolm and Martin were alive and actually worked with them directly. He would say that like, even though everybody wasn't an activist, everybody knew what time it was. Everybody knew what direction we were trying to go in. All right. I don't know what the younger generation believes in to even fight for. And then finally, we have to get out of this mindset so I'll be curious about what y'all believe in that you're willing to die for. And then secondly, the point here is we have to get out of this mindset that like your commitment to a particular political struggle is your willingness to die for it. If anything, you should be willing to live for something. Live for a better future. Live for a better tomorrow rather than die for it. So I'll just be curious about what this younger generation actually believes in, that it will be willing to either live or die for.
Well, I'll say this, and my whole thing.
I think Fuji wanted to speak. He has been waiting.
Okay, appreciate that.
I'd like to get in line too.
It's not that they don't have access to information. This is what they just choose to engage with. They know exactly what they're saying is wrong. They know exactly what they're saying is stupid. I'm pretty sure Just has read both sides of the arguments. He actually took, if he's made to the age of 27, he had over 12 years of public school system education. They had history classes. So we're arguing with people who just they're living in a world they've made an alternate universe. They've made an alternate version of history. We won't convince these people. And I mean, I would hope for this young man to get, I'm 33 years old, I might be much older than this one, but the idea of him kind of ascending or understanding like Black history is pretty much moot because they choose not to willfully engage with it. They choose to, well, it's better if we hold to that point of having a New John Martin, you know what I'm saying? It takes masses to be there. It's not people willing to die. Like, nobody is willing to die for anything. No soldier goes to war wanting to get killed. People want to go to war to go win. Like, they're not even talking about winning. It's just a fatalist idea. Like, no, if enough of us die, it'll galvanize the masses into believing that. And that shit just historically is not true. So when we engage these kids, these young folk who talk about, you know, things being tough on what they're the byproducts of whatever, they don't even realize how catered, how careful their world is. Even the kids who grew up in the hood, grew up in the aftermath of the war and crime and war on drugs, they don't realize, like, for the most part, you grew up in a world that's like, they got rid of pretty much all the real dope dealers, all the real cartels. They pushed the niggas aside. Yeah, they killed them, they put them in jail. There's no more super duper kingpins walking around the hood no more. These just penny ante drug dealers. These are the remnants. Ain't no more OGs left. They all got life sentences. They all supermax. So when we talk to these kids, they don't even know that the world they live in a post-apocalyptic scenario pretty much with drug dealers. They don't understand that we like that era has shifted for them. So when they discuss these things about crime and dependency on things, and we need to get off of this and get on that, they don't understand that they don't live in the world. They have never really seen that world. They don't remember when there was. They don't remember the ghetto gunfight of the '90s. They don't remember the ghetto gunfights of the '80s between the police and drug dealers. They don't even know that. They live in a very plush world. So like, until they understand that, until they realize, wait a minute, maybe my world's a little bit nicer because nobody has a Uzi out walking around the street. I know there's nobody, like, the crack epidemic isn't that real for me. Like, you don't see full-time high-rise school drug dealers no more. They don't have a right to talk on these issues no more.
Well, I'll say this, and and I think that there's an over emphasis on like the '60s and like that era, because the world that people are in and are growing up in now is just different from that world. Yes, there was a time, and I know because my dad grew up in that era. He grew up under segregation and stuff in Alabama back in the '60s and marched in the civil rights movement. But the thing is, we don't live in that era anymore. Like these young kids now, their biggest concern is not a Klansman. Like their biggest concern is like MS-13, fucking with them while they're trying to play basketball in the park, going towards the evening. So they gotta leave the park at a certain time in the evening because MS-13 don't show up. Like, you know what I mean. So that's the world that we live in now, and I think that, here's the thing: Malcolm and Martin and people like that, Stokely Carmichael, the Panthers, they were all, legends, and they fought for what they believed in their time, but they are no longer relevant in the time that we're in now. So we need to retire them. We should respect them, but we need to retire them and put them to rest and deal with this what we got going on now. And no, we're not all going to think the same way. We're not all going to vote the same way, or I think that we galvanize that time period because we look at it as like this monolithic time period. We were all somehow moving in the same direction and moving. But there was a lot of people who disagreed back then. There were a lot of people who criticized Martin Luther King and criticized, the moves that he made back then and stuff like that. So it wasn't really all like that.
You don't think
But I just think that,
you don't think Martin had anything to say about gang violence? He politicized gangs. Like
MS-13 is not.
Organizing gang members like freaking the Vice Lord, and they were marching with them and getting folks in line. Like, you don't think King had anything to say about gang violence, for example?
Well, I am confused about this though. Gen Xers are the ones who raised the generation we're talking about. So they got their mindset from Gen Xers. So it didn't happen by osmosis.
That's not true.
Why is that? How is that not true, Justin?
Because there are way more influences than just their parents. Even us, we don't get our mindset straight from our parents. A lot of us think way different than our parents. And these kids have hella other influences: video games, social media, computers, massive propaganda. Like, so this is not.
So Gen Xers or baby boomers did. So we're the most trusting of our parents in history.
I don't see how that correlates to them being like that.
Like we just parents. Of course, Dr. You got it.
Just real quick. I think CEO is partially right, and this is one of the things I said. The Gen X is the sort of post-soul kind of generation, and Gen X parents raise their kids with an attitude. A lot of Gen X parents raise their kids with an attitude that they were going to provide for their kids what they didn't have. And that became an indulgence in excess. They didn't want their kids to want for anything. Because as Gen Xers, we grew up with parents who were children of the Depression, who were children of segregation, and they had a very, I would say kind of limited, they had very restrictive ideas, right? And so Gen Xers kind of grew up without a lot of attentiveness, I would say. And these parents are overly attentive and they indulge their kids. So CEO is a little bit right on that. But the thing I wanted to say to the other person that was speaking is, even in your comment, your perception of the history is it's awkward because it's more than Martin Luther King. And what's different about the kids now is that as kids or as 20-somethings, they are not engaged in the real politic of their environments. When those people, like the civil rights movement, yeah, we think about Martin Luther King, but those things were done by college students. It was college students that were doing those sit-ins. It was college students that were marching with King. When we think about that, we think of all the older people, but there were young people that were doing those things. And even as a Gen Xer, we had a political consciousness. We may not, all of us didn't live in drug-infested environments, but we knew that this was the reality this was a social reality that we had to be aware of, and that we had to be consciously committed to not being involved in, or doing what we could as when we became adults to make sure that that didn't persist. So I think it's a different kind of social conditioning. And the lack of understanding and the lack of knowledge of history is the problem. These young people are living very curated lives. I put that in the chat. Curated by their parents, curated by the internet. And so their perspectives are very narrow. And it's all about
Projection alert of the day. Projection alert of the day.
And that's not the way it has been in previous generations. And I think that is a particular problem, especially for us as Black people, because we are living in the civil rights movement right now, right this moment. We are living in it, and they have no awareness of that.
Those are great points, Dr. AG. Hard to build upon that. I wanted to just add, there's a structural component to this as well that I think cannot be ignored, that really comes from the time of Gen X, particularly deindustrialization, the attack on teachers and workers, deunionization. These are spaces where folks are becoming politicized, along with what I believe is the increase in higher education as you begin to see more Black folks enter higher education. During the 1950s and 1960s, we know that going to colleges and universities didn't cost nearly as much, not even close to what it costs now. But you begin to see the increase of higher education over time as more Black people get enrolled, and when you begin to see Black studies and ethnic studies and Chicano studies, among other things, come into academia. great point, which builds upon CEO's point, that, you know, it very much was like, hey, listen, we need to make sure that you had the things that I didn't have. And I think to a certain degree that, and not the analysis, but that approach is a very kind of individualized approach when it comes to raising children, as opposed to kind of understanding a kind of collective obligation. Obviously, this isn't true for all Gen X folks, but I do believe that there, as you began to see the emergence of neoliberalism, what you also saw was an individualization of what it meant to be a black person in this country. I mean, Manny Marable wrote how capitalism was underdeveloped in Black America, of course, drawing from Walter Rodney's How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And I think his analysis is right in that regard, at least culturally, that you begin to see a departure. Well, I think Jesse Jackson said we need to move from civil rights to civil rights. So I do think Gen X has a certain kind of role to play in where we are, but I think it has a lot to do very much with a departure from, or rather a transformation, let me put it that way, a transformation of what the movement was, which was to fight for rights, which then became to fight for, you know, opportunities, you know, in corporate America, opportunities with white collar jobs, especially when you began to see blue collar jobs deunionize, when you began to see the start of CEOs making vast amounts of wealth compared to their working counterparts. So I do think that there's a structural analysis as well. The attack on teachers, we still continue to see that. The refusal to even have folks be exposed on the primary, intermediate, and secondary level to Black history, among other kinds of marginalized histories. So I don't lay the blame squarely on young people. There's certainly a role to play there, but like this shit is structural and it's deliberate. And the young people that we're seeing now, they're really becoming kind of like the collateral damage in some ways as a result of what we've been seeing so far.
And Black Freedom, just a quick kind of thought question for you. So you mentioned earlier how hip hop artists were different in the 90s, and of course I agree with you. However, if they had internet and social media then the same way we have it today, how much closer would they have been to what we see today?
I mean, it's tough. I think, you know, for me, it's kind of like a ground up thing. I think there would be, I think the conversations would be different. So, for example, you know, motherfuckers hated Reagan. But also there was this, I think, larger global push to end South African apartheid in the late 80s, early 90s, especially among the Black community. There was culturally an emphasis on like doing Black things, whether you're talking about movies, film, television, music, all that stuff. Like it was just, I said, yeah, I repeated myself, my bad, but you get the point. Ultimately, like I think there was a kind of like, I mean, obviously Afrocentrism, but I think culturally things were different. There was still kind of collective consciousness that we aren't seeing as much today, even when we saw that in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, those are some great points. If you don't mind me adding to it, can I ask Just, if you're still there? I don't know if it's Justin or Just, but I have a question for you. Being 27 years old and doing what you're doing, trying to free think, trying to find, you know, the right things to think about. I find that, you know, from people I grew up with, because I grew up in Las Vegas, I grew up 28th Street gangs. I was around gangs. We lived in a brick apartment because there was a lot of drive-bys, and you know a lot of bullets can go through bricks. And then I moved to the country, and I live in the country now. My question to you is, I've seen in my life where economic disparity, you know, has crippled all people, colors, let's say.
Yeah, maybe while he deals with that, I'll just jump in. Oh, are you back? Okay. I'm thinking about the legacy of the No Child Left Behind policy that Bush implemented in 2002 and then was replaced by every succeeds in 20. So that would have been the entire time that you know, people in this age group were in school. And when it was focused on and so things like attention to the test narrowed the curriculum, because I believe those tests were focused mainly on reading and math, among other things.
And if I can just quickly add it, defunding, like defunding schools.
Right.
Defunding's what we need.
Exactly.
It's what's coming.
Yeah, so there was less teaching in topics like, social studies and history.
How is there less teaching if there's less money?
And then
Maybe it's not all about the teaching.
Like the long-term effect being that non-tested subjects were de-emphasized or cut entirely. And that's particularly in so-called like underperforming schools, right? In like low-income districts. So we know who that is. So yeah, I just wonder if all of this might have to do with, younger folks not having the same like education that maybe some of us older folks had in terms of like the history and stuff like that.
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, that's great too. Let me get this question out, and I'm gonna get off here. Thank you guys for providing my understanding of what goes on out there in the world.
Thanks for teaching me something today, even though you didn't teach me nothing.
How, or have you been taught, or maybe you're teaching yourself, or maybe you come alongside a mentor, but how are you, as a young man, because I'm 22 years your senior, as a young man,
Junior, you the junior, not the senior.
I'm curious how the young people look at this, because I work with some young people, and this their thoughts a little bit.
Oh, maybe he ain't the junior.
Like me personally, or like you want me to speak for people who are my age?
I'm talking to you personally. How are you economically? What are you doing to better yourself economically in your life right now, in your situation?
So right now, me personally, I'm just paying from something that I don't want to speak on right now. But so I'm starting a nonprofit organization. I'm starting there and starting with my book that I'm writing as well. And from there, I have
Party was him.
I'm having negotiations with other people, and we're going to be planning on part of the nonprofit. We're going to be partnering with this
I reported
this program. I can't even think right now. I'm not going to, but where they're going to be able to get people housing, like affordable housing, and building it from the ground up, and things like that. Something of humanity of America or something like that. Anyway, so
Habitat for
we're doing stuff like that. Yeah, Habitat for Humanity, partner with them and incorporating the nonprofit organization for at-risk youth. We're gonna be like allowing them to get some education, get some hands-on training with just building a house from the ground up for a lot of the boys and girls. And from there, taking a lot of the money and investing it back into the organization, and then taking whatever accumulates from there. We gave ourselves a 10-year span, like growth, accumulate income and money to set aside for further investments, and not even just for ourselves, as far as like real estate and things like that. But put money aside to really like bless people, so they can go back into their story and incorporate God and how God moved in my life and moved in their life. Because we want to like get like start people off with a fighting chance of owning property. Like if I could just put myself in position and leverage in the people that's around me, because I got some real good people around me, and we can get properties to just bless people with, like, they have a kid goes a certain amount of days without getting expelled from school, like a kid that's usually bad. Like I want to turn get like a certified bill, give them something to really look forward to, so they can be like, okay, I can own the house, and it's something that I could either build upon and sell it, or keep doing it, and get the real estate, or it's something that I can have as equity, something I can pass down to my kids, things like that. So that's really, as far as I'm looking at it, following my purpose, and the income, residual, everything's gonna come from there as long as I follow my purpose and do what God put on my heart by telling my stories. Because I am one of those YNs that y'all call, but I learned a lot, and I came from out of that. I still got some of the ways, I got some of the attitude still on me, and I still got a lot of work to do on myself. But yeah, that's how I'm looking at it.
No, that's awesome. I love hearing how young people, their minds work differently, and that's exact. You're seeing so much more stuff on the internet. You guys live in a different generation, so you're exposed to so much more than what I was exposed to. So my thought process when I was your age, a little bit younger, will just mainly self-serve. So it's awesome seeing you wanting to help and give back to the community. But you hit it on the head that there's no bigger testimony. I believe in the Lord Jesus too, man. He's my Savior. I try to be God like the Holy Spirit. There's no more God than Him. When I try to do it myself, it's a big mess. So I know He died for my sins. He buried on the third day. That's what I believe. When I let Him lead, it did so much better than when I tried to do it myself. There's no bigger testimony out there than you doing it. And also putting into yourself knowledge, money, understand how things are going on economically, and people can see you do it, and then your light to them because that's what they're going to want to do. So I would definitely encourage you to look into, as far as life insurance, IULs, some of the pays you back, you can take loans off. You can get those houses. You start putting money in. I think if I'm not mistaken, you got to put in 2 or 3 years in there and you're able to take some equity out of that IUL, and you can start going and get you a house and then pay the IUL back. That's how you become your own bank. You get rid of that system. Then you start getting compound interest on your IUL. You can do so many things. You, as a younger person, have so many opportunities to make a change in your life and people around you that I didn't. And maybe there's some people that are older than me in here that probably didn't have the same thing either. I'm learning younger. As we're sitting here right now talking, you guys are talking, I'm trading stocks in the stock market. I'm trading keep all the way down. What's that?
Oh, sorry, I thought I was on mute. I'm not worried. Hold on.
Don't take those chances on that.
Anyway, just encourage you, man. Keep doing it. I want to thank you guys for this conversation that we have here. So I appreciate you.
I'm a firm believer in hope.
That was so funny.
I don't believe you can have them type of aspirations when you're literally supporting something that's inadvertent.
Got away without being injured in attack.
Get rid of
Take
you.
those
Make sure
chances
that shit
on
you're talking
stuff
about
filling in
protection.
protection.
Like I don't want to be a Debbie Downer dog. I'm just gonna keep it on with you, nigga. You make no sense. Like
I understand.
everything
I
you're
completely understand.
like no, something for just dog. You're asking to create this better world, but you're supporting policies of a person who actively is open to you. I want this shit to burn down. Dog, make fucking sense, bro.
Can I just add a quick sentence to what Fuji is saying? Everything that you and Ryan have been talking about is based on a legal regulatory framework and this idea of rules that are applied fairly and can be counted upon to apply in the same way going forward into the future. So if we got rid of all of that, then all of these plans disappear. You realize that?
They're about to chain the boat up.
So you're saying that the fair market that we have now, if we get rid of the fair market,
The Harvard keeps calling me down. Stop it. I need to go get my vacuum.
The problem, I think the problem with like what he was saying is like you ask for no rules, but you want to make rules. You want to make the world fair for people. Then you don't believe, but you also believe the world needs to be cooler first before it gets fair for people. It doesn't really add up. Like you're telling people to survive. Nobody survives hard times. That's just the reality of hard times. Nobody survives motherfuckers. Anytime people don't survive genocide. Genocides for the most part throughout human history are quite successful. Anytime there's like a collapse of a government happens, people die in droves. There's no world where like this country ended, but the world got better. It takes hundreds of years for that to kind of recover.
I don't want
like
to.
the Dark Ages happened. That's why the blank
I
period
will
happened.
probably take
That's
an
why
order
we
and
have
put it in my
these things
backyard,
occur
even though I
again.
don't want
Look
it.
at you're
It would be
post World War
such a
II.
messed up.
There's an entire missing generation of Europeans. 2 or 3 missing generation of Europeans, and the world has never really recovered from that as far as white people birth rates. That's where we're on such a hyper decline right now. They're literally missing white people. So when we take into account like the idea of let's make the world better, you get to realize that people who are making the world better are usually going to be on the left, not people on the right. People who are conservative are not interested in the shit Justice talking about in no capacity. They don't believe poor people deserve food,
The Harvard
housing,
keeps
or a
calling
chance
me
to
now,
better
so out there
opportunities.
to chain the boat up. And
This
even
little
though
bit
it's
of
not
You're
very
kind of categorizing everybody, putting everybody in a box.
I'm not categorizing somebody stock price. I'm not categorizing when somebody openly states and makes a 925 page fucking manifesto of how they're gonna make the world worse. That's not categorizing somebody. When over 70 million people vote for that shit, that is not me saying I'm categorizing people. When people actively go to rallies, support people saying we're gonna turn it up a notch. This guy here who just died, he's the reason we're gonna use this injury for him dying to make the world a much worse place for people who we don't agree with. I'm not categorizing people. I didn't even categorize you. I'm just saying if you believe in the ideology of that guy, you support this guy, you don't believe make the world a better place. Fuck out of here with that. Let's make this shit cut and dry. Draw a line in the sand. You cannot agree with this man's policy and agree and think this man is a good president, then sit back and say you want to make the world a better
Yes.
fucking place for everybody.
That-
When he actually
that
says,
vote
I don't want to help nobody.
has been cut.
So you're sitting there as saying is what Justice just said, what he said that he wants to do to help people is a complete lie. Because he likes what Trump is doing as far as tearing down the government. Start
Put into value.
Yes, you
Yes,
can't
that
be
vote
arsonist
expense
because
has
I'm
been
a fucking
cut.
firefighter.
Put into
Can
value.
I just say
petitions.
too, I think one of the biggest differences between
Priorities.
folks traditionally on the right and folks traditionally on the left, or at least based on the policies that they've enacted and what they run on, is the left or the Democrats have historically championed regulation. Like,
We're
we need
800 plus
industries
signatures.
to be held to certain standards. We need them to follow certain rules. You know, for example, the Democrats with the consumer, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact name, but the Bureau of Consumer Protection, the Consumer Protection Bureau, I believe, with Elizabeth Warren. And, you know, in the wake of the housing crisis on 2008, we need rules, we need to regulate. We can't let these people run amok. Capitalism's all well and good, but it has to be reined in by regulation. And then on the right, the argument is all this regulation, all this red tape, this is just hindering innovation. We need no rules. We need a free market. Let Adam Smith, Invisible Hand, let the market do what it do, and it's gonna work out great for everybody. But what we've actually seen is people on the right who are backed by the billionaires, they don't want regulation because then it's easier for them to make up anything and do anything and cheat or whatever and not have anyone looking over their shoulder telling them you have to be fair here, you can't do this there. So then there's no ceiling on the amount of money that they could make. Whereas when you have rules and regulations on the left or the Democrats, there is somewhat of a ceiling. There are some rules, there are some guideposts, there are some fences, so that all everyday people can participate in that system, right? I can participate in the stock market or whatever. I can buy a house. And I know that there's going to be certain rules that protect me because I don't have the influence of a billionaire. I don't have the unlimited resources. So I need the federal government to step in and give me some protection from the wild, wild west, right, of the market.
Sure, I would say that, you know, a lot of people have problems with it, but I don't have a problem with billionaires being billionaires because a lot of people think that they just stack their money up like you know, ducking Scrooge over there in the corner of a vault in their basement, and that's how it gains interest. That's not how it works. Innovation is huge. I think that they put the money back out there because they know if they put those billions of dollars back out there, it's going to return even more money to them than it would just sit in a bank account getting 4% interest. That's how millionaires and people in business think, and that's how their life thinks. So I think personally, as Just doing what he's doing is a very good thing. I think he wants to help his community, on top of not just helping his community, but getting alongside people that mentor him that have done the things that he's looking forward to doing. And that to me is a huge thing. I never had that growing up, and it wasn't until I learned older. So starting out his age, I think he's going to be well past where I'm at now in my life. He's going to be well past that just because he's setting himself up in a position to succeed.
But he's supporting.
That sounds really nice.
Yeah, let me just jump in real quick, Fuji. Yeah, but y'all don't have like all of this like ideology and roses and strawberries. That sounds great, but that's not the world we live in. That's not what's going on. So he can have all of that, or I don't even know how you got that. This just said he supports a man who is actively against people that look like him. So I don't understand, what positive, like y'all just talked about being soldiers but don't want to stand on nothing. I don't get it. I'm just lost.
This is what I'm saying. Alright. First I'm gonna say just understand.
Can I ask him a question real quick, Just? I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off. Let me ask him a question real quick. Coach, I don't know you, man. You sound like you're an educated cat. I ain't gonna lie about it. You sound like you know what's going on. Can I ask you a question? Do you work for somebody, or are you like self-employed, got your own thing going on?
I have both.
Okay, cool. So you're working for somebody. If your boss come up,
have both.
okay, cool, you got both, man. I ain't mad at you, and do your thing. Let's say the boss that you're working for, even though you are a boss, but the boss that you're working for, if he come to you and told you right to your face, point blank, I don't know what you get paid, and I ain't trying to go there and know that, but I'm just saying, if he come and told you right to your face, I don't like the way you look, I don't like the way you think, I don't look like you, I don't know if you're black or white, let's say he's opposite of you, I don't like the way you look, but I can look at your work ethic, and I cannot deny that you work hard, and I like that. So I'm going to give you a $10, $15, $30, $100,000 raise a year on top of extra vacation and extra benefits. Would you accept that from him, or would you quit that job just because he didn't like the way you looked?
So now we're taking handouts.
But that's not actually how.
I asked a simple question. That's
Can I
just
just respond?
I mean, I don't really understand how that, but yeah, I would.
Wait.
But that doesn't really make sense.
And then you guys can have it. So culture, you said you would take it. You'd be like, yeah, okay, I don't care if you don't like me or nothing, the way I look, but I'll take that money because you respect my work ethic.
Yes, I would take it, and then I would go to HR.
Good. Fair enough. That's just a simple question I was asking.
But how does that correlate?
Because I know
to
some
what we're
people,
talking?
because I've dealt with people that I work with, and I asked that same question. A guy I work with, he's, we keep each other honest. He's on the left, and I guess I'm in the center or right, whatever you want to call it. And I asked him that same question. He said I wouldn't take the money, and I would go to HR and try to get a lawsuit. And I was trying to understand in my mind that for me, I don't care what somebody thinks about the color of my skin, the thing I comb my hair, I got a bald head, it doesn't matter to me. If I work my butt off and they recognize that and they're willing to reward me for my hard work, then I'm more probable to accept that and likely to accept that just because they recognize the hard work. I don't need you to like me as a person. I don't need you to like me because of my skin color. But dang, I put my butt on the line. I come in and give up my hours to get compensated for hard work that I do. And if you recognize that, you're willing to compensate me for that, then I've succeeded in that part.
I'm glad you said that. Well, let me just say that, and that underlines exactly your values and what you feel is important. You cannot disrespect me for no amount of money. I'm a black man who understands history. I understand what people look like, what the people that in my own family lineage and in other family lineages and in other disenfranchised humans on this here landmass had to go through for me to even have the luxury of getting up and going to work today and being offered the option of a raise, for me to allow someone to disrespect me for some fucking money. And that is where, when I don't know how old you are, but this is what I'm talking about. The Republicans or whatever, I don't know what you are, but a lot of these people talk about morals, values, law and order. And to me, I don't care how much money you argue. You start off with saying, I don't like you, I don't like the way you look. We have a fucking problem in this country, because that doesn't, when you say you don't like me and you don't like the way I look, that doesn't mean that means as a black man, that means a whole bunch of other things behind that. And as a Hispanic man, that's probably a Jewish man, when you hear those words, that's not just, I think you're ugly, which is fine, but it's not just, I don't like your personality, which is also, no, that's a dog whistle, or it's telling I don't like you as your presence, as a race, as a person who has autonomy. I don't like that. So yeah, we got a problem, and then furthermore, I would still have to continue to work with you, so I would have to have some type of trust, and that just because you offered me some money, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna trust you and move forward with you. And I think that's the biggest disconnect that we have in a lot of these conversations, because y'all are saying that like that's valuable, and that's not valuable. To accept money over anything, because that's just not valuable. You have to have some type of dignity, and honestly, if you have kids and you're a progenitor of other little bodies, you will want to take a stance, because that doesn't move the needle for them. You took the money, and now they're gonna go through the same shit you went through, and it may not be, they may not get offered, money. They may get killed all because you were you were only thinking about money. So I think different.
No, it's respectful. I respect your opinion, your thoughts 100%. Yeah, the way I see it is that if I was given that extra money, even though somebody didn't like me because of skin color, my ugly face, whatever, I know that what I can do with that money in my side of my life and with my family and with the people around me and people that are hurting, I can help them a lot more. And then to me, that's where my heart's at. Sure, take me, beat me, work me down, talk me down, but if you're going to pay me to where I can help
Are
those
you
around me
listening
that really
to
need it,
yourself?
then that's what I'm willing to do. Well, I mean, I'm not interrupting nobody, man. I'm trying to talk. I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
Thank you. So
He calls him a man. That's Scotty. That's a man. A gay man, but that's Scotty talking. That ain't a woman.
Talk about stripping billionaires.
That's Scotty.
Taking their money and giving it out because some people are saying it, and I'm not saying this is your culture, but some people are saying take the money from the billionaires, give it to other people. Now they're
That ain't a woman. That's a man.
You know what I'm saying? I could take it from somebody else to help people. It's kind of like a weird dichotomy to me, but I get where you're coming from and I respect what you mean and what you're saying, Coach.
Right, there's economic science with millionaires. A large part of how businesses of scale and corporations operate really differently than household finance or small business. Is when you have billions and billions, there's barriers to entry, there's economies of scale, there's all these really important economic phenomena that have been documented for more than 50 years. Of course, we don't steal from
Just
billionaires.
keep borrowing.
Millionaires.
Just keep spending.
A lot.
And just keep taxing.
Their wealth isn't in salary. Their wealth isn't in cash. They keep their wealth in strange ways. So Kamala's...
You saying it wrong, dog. It's pronounced wealth.
Last economist. He was an economist at Stanford. She's had some of the best economic policies out of any politician in U.S. history. She was just talking about when you're a billionaire, you got to pay your fair share of taxes. Because I think it was Warren Buffett that said, when I pay less tax than my secretary, there's something seriously wrong with this policy. And it's important to look at economics as a science. Because when you're a billionaire, you have economies of scale, you have barriers to entry, you have access to global markets. And small businesses and individuals and highly salaried individuals just don't have that. So we have to make things fair.
Ryan, can I respond? Okay, and then I'll go on mute. But the example you gave, where the boss comes to you and says, "Listen, I might hate everything about you, but I cannot deny how hard you're working, and so here's $100,000, right? That's not really how the economy or how capitalism works. If people got money based on how hard they worked or how much value they added, we would not have all of the extreme... I mean, who was working harder than the slave? Who added more to the America could never have been the economic superpower that it was early in its life as a country without all of that free, very, very hard-working labor that they made money off. Let alone, I mean, today you can look
There's
at
no such thing as free, stupid. You still gotta feed. You still gotta clothe. You still gotta house. You still gotta care. Everything is an expense. It's called asset management.
Value that workers,
It's
because
called
this is another disagreement between the right and
expenditure
the left.
of assetship.
Who is actually the person that is adding value to these corporations? From the perspective of someone
You,
on
the
the
consumer.
left, for the people, it's the workers. The workers are the ones bringing the value in those factors. These people could never do what they do. You couldn't make all the hot chocolate packets or whatever they do without the workers. But the right, they're saying, no. The workers are just, they're little widgets. They come and go. They're a dime a dozen. It's actually these visionaries and these, CEOs and these investors that are adding the value, right? the other thing is, if people were making money based on their hard work, why hasn't the federal minimum wage, isn't it still like $7? This is crazy. I mean, imagine, just think about that. I worked my ass off for
Think
an
about
hour,
that.
and I was given $7? This is crazy. And then what the Democrats are saying should be the federal minimum wage, or I think Bernie, for years, they've been saying $15, which is also very little. This doesn't even come to the standard of, like, they haven't even increased it. I mean, from my perspective, they should have said, sure, we wanted $15 12 years ago, but now we want 25 because everything is more expensive. So even the basic concept of you should be paid a living wage, the amount of money you make should be equivalent to what it takes to buy some food and pay your rent. That is controversial. So this is the whole idea of, because the unregulated capitalism, what you'll hear all the time in these corporations, you've got to do more with less. We've all just got to do more with less. Are the CEOs doing more with less? When have they ever? They are doing less with more. So the idea is that the system, if you let it play out on its own, and if you're a Christian, then you should believe in the fallen nature of man, that we are inherently, since the fall, we are greedy, we are wicked, we need the awesome power of the Holy Spirit to come into us and help us to do the right thing and to see the light. So therefore, if that's what we believe about people, we know that people are greedy. We know that people are going to play unfair. We know that people don't have the care, by and large, that they should for their fellow man. And the system that we have, if anything, has rewarded this and pushed it even further and further. So that's why we needed some basic laws and regulations, not even whatever the people on the left, the Democrats, whatever, are advocating. It's not going to result in people being rich, but maybe it could result in people being able to eke out a meager existence, some sort of dignified life. And I just don't see how anyone could be against that on the basis that, no, that's bullshit, because this billionaire needs to buy his 12th yacht. Like, it's ridiculous.
All right, I think Spear.
Ridiculous!
So, they gotta move the mic around a little bit so some new people could talk too.
I mean, the conversation has shifted, but it's remarkable listening to people with so little integrity that they're okay to be shit on to make a few dollars. Meanwhile, you are impacting everybody ahead of you to create and perpetuate a system where the next people are continued to be shit on over and over again because you lack integrity. It's remarkable to me how low we have sunk.
Projection alert number 2 of the day.
CC, do you have something that you'd like to? Okay. Well.
That's a first.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of confused. Just you're saying you agree with Malak, but she's not saying anything that aligns with what you're saying. So, is your mind being changed, or what's going on?
No, so okay. Just before I speak, just understand that everything I've said, you haven't understood anything I've said yet so far. So
have I not understood, or have I just disagreed?
Both, because you didn't ask any questions for clarification. And I noticed that.
But
I would only,
so, bro, we don't have to do like some classes. Listen, so let me explain something to you.
Take him to school, brother.
When you need
teach him the truth.
If I didn't need clarification, there was no need for me to ask for clarifying questions. Furthermore, you can't. You're qualifying that as me not listening to understand, bro. You're just using words that you've heard. You have to make them make sense. Just because a person hears you and understands the first time doesn't mean that they weren't listening. Like, so go ahead. I understood what you said. I just disagreed.
So, I don't know if it was you or I didn't have my phone in my hand, but somebody had said something like, how can I be wanting America to fall, but at the same time I'm talking about building my community? And how does that correlate? How can I think both of those things at the same time, right? Was that you that asked that?
I'm sure. I mean, that sounds like something me or whoever else. But my question to you was what I just asked.
What did he
You
ask?
had a very different opinion than Malek gave a submission, and you said she's cooking, which I agree with, but it doesn't align with anything that you said before. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
I'm not trying to. I'm very, very open-minded to different perspectives and different ideas and different ways of thinking. I don't think one. So, like a lot of things can exist and be true all at the time. That's just how I think. I think in layers. Like everything is multi-layered. Nothing is just one-sided. So I think when we do like that, like even when I initially agree with something or disagree with something, I don't just stick to okay, I disagree. And the reason I might disagree is I'm disagreeing with something that may be true, it may not be true, but the fact that it don't align with the way I think, I'm not just going to just disagree and leave it at that. If I disagree, I'm going to ask questions to like really try to understand what the hell this person is saying because I'm so in such disagreement. I'm like, okay, where did you get this from? Why are you thinking this? How do you think this helps? Like, I will ask further questions to gain clarification whether I agree or disagree.
Or I could have heard this before, and you think your opinion is on the block, but it's a generated opinion that I've heard a million times. So I was able to identify it, and I didn't need to ask any further questions because I already know. I mean, you just don't have enough information, and that's with all respect, you don't have enough information, and so I implore you to just look at history, because one thing you can learn about history is that it usually repeats itself. So you can take the things from history and you can usually apply them and scale.
Well, maybe you should study more than just history, like philosophy. It's just an idea.
Have a very narrow.
Because history ain't philosophy. And philosophy ain't even history. It's called intelligence.
But what you have to do is go further back, look further back in history. So you made a lot of definitive statements about your generation compared to mine. And upon listening, you don't really seem to be informed about my generation or what's going on in the crack epidemic or underrated. So I would just implore you to look at those things and then do your comparative analysis and see if you come up with the same answers that you have now.
Yeah, actually, it's weird. I've actually been into this type of stuff. I've been doing my research. I know about the Reagan administration. I know about a lot of stuff. I've been doing deep diving like 12. And when I was incarcerated, I was privileged to come across a lot of books that a lot of people in the free world still to this day aren't aware of. Such as books like Behold a Pale Horse. Have you read that book?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so let me ask you this. All right, since you say, okay, history repeats itself, do you remember how Black people was freed from bondage and slavery? Do you remember what took place in order for that to happen?
Yeah. And I just want you to know, Pale Horse, that's not like exclusive.
It's not an end-all be-all, I know.
But it's also a very, it's not a book that I would reference. I'll just say that.
Let me ask you a question real quick. If you don't mind sharing, what industry are you in? You're a business owner?
No, I have been. I failed. I failed a lot in life.
But that's okay. But what are you doing right now for yourself?
Right now, I'm a truck driver.
Is it your own rig or are you working for a truck driver?
I'm working for a
Did they
company.
finish? What's going on?
Well, I didn't know they were. Go ahead.
It's all good. But yeah, so the question is, okay, so tell us how we, as black people, got free from bondage. What took place?
What do you mean, like how slavery ended?
Yeah, like we made the white man say, you know what, freedom.
I don't know. I mean, that's a long story. There was a war, and you know, we had. What do you mean? It was like the North and the South.
Before that.
I mean, we'll do better. Why don't you just tell
The
me?
man is a professor of history.
I don't know enough, so I thought you would have these type of.
I don't know where you're going with this. So once maybe I found out the line of questioning, then I can probably answer better.
Okay, so when I look back in history, and I came across the Gullah Wars, the Gullah Geechee people, and they went from plantation to plantation, killing all the white people. I'm not advocating.
Let them finish talk to him, Chief.
We went
What kind of history
plantation.
is this?
Look up the Gullah Geechee Wars.
I don't have to. I am that, sir.
She is the motherfucking Golden Geechee bitch. Don't need to explain myself.
Killing white people, right?
I do not.
So you should. I'll go back and look into it some more. I know that you said you are Gullah Geechee. The lady who raised me, she's from Bonneville, Georgia. She's Geechee.
Because the Gullah Geechee Wars were a 100-year conflict starting in the 18th century.
Yes, ma'am.
You just told me that they were having a back and forth. Now you would have a back and forth. You're gonna interrupt.
Be quiet.
Justin.
Be quiet.
You literally just chastised me for interrupting.
Be quiet.
He should do it again.
Same thing.
Go ahead.
It's good. So basically, when I look at stuff like that, right, and all that bloodshed, just for us to be fucking not even still treated as humans, just for us to be free from slavery, all that blood had to be shed, and it caused a panic across the whole nation. They like, fuck, if they keep this up, they're gonna kill all of us. They couldn't stop us. They could not stop them. They couldn't. So they had to free us, because that's what we were fighting for, to be free. So what I'm saying is, fast forward time, when has anything like that ever happened again in America?
You mean just black people? Like, what do you mean like physically, or do you mean as in just resistance?
Both.
I mean, many
That
times.
goes hand in hand. I'm talking on that scale, to where it's so much chaos going on that laws had to be moved.
Have you ever heard of the Black Panthers?
You know what happened to them?
But you wait, hold on. Don't. Hold on. Let me just give you a little piece of it. Don't. What you're doing? Hold on. You're moving the goalpost. You asked me that I have an example of a group, you know, forming some type of resistance and them making a law in, you know, as a retort or whatever. Damn, what is the word I'm looking for? Well, yeah, they made laws because of it. And so I gave you the Black Panthers. So now what? Don't ask me. So what happened to the Black Panthers? Because that's not the point that you were making. So
Referendum was the word you were looking for.
Okay. But yeah, that's cool too.
All right, so let me just try to bring my point home. The reason I asked that question because you chimed in and said something, and I was in the conversation about to go somewhere else. I know that's not where I was getting, but that's just what you chimed in. Okay, so what I'm saying is with the whole Trump thing, right? Fast forward time, we said history repeats itself. If we don't understand history, we're not gonna know what the fuck we had. We're not gonna know what to expect. We have been doing what the fuck the government government wanted us to do. We've been playing into their game for this long, and look how far it's got us, and look at the shit that we still talking about still to this day. We still have an issue with our government. Why?
Well, let me, and I know a couple other people probably don't want to chime in, but before everybody does, I just want to say this. You know, I think that you have respect for the past, so I would say this, and I think you're cool, so I'm not gonna I think that you just don't know a lot of stuff or you don't realize, but I think it's rude and it's very like presumptive to say, oh, how far has it gotten us? Because my reply to that is very far. Do you know how we came here? Do you know what we came from? And you are sitting here as a black man able to express your opinion, and as a black man I'm able to debate with you without being killed, murdered, or whatever. And that's not eliminated. I don't want to downplay what is currently going on, but I think it's disrespectful to our ancestors who did these things to say we still, to slight it like that, like to talk about it. And that's why I would like for you to just think about what you say before you say it, because they moved a lot of needles. I just need you to understand.
I do understand, and I'm very appreciative of the people who came before us and died. They died in order for us to do this, right? They died. The people risked their lives in order for us to do this. You remember, like Freedom School, it was even white people that died for this type of freedom and liberty. So what I'm saying is, something has to happen in order for a change on that scale. Like you said, history repeats itself, right? And the things that our people fought for, are you aware that right now, as we speak, a lot of those things that they died for are being undone? Are you aware that our freedom of speech is in jeopardy right now? As we speak. You do know that, right?
Because of the lies that are a fan of. So, I think this is the issue and the difficulty, right? It's like, yeah, you have these historical moments, but your connection between them needs to be clearer. Because you're jumping significant historical time. You started with the Civil Rights Movement, then you went to slavery, then you went to the Gun Wars, which were the 18th century and ended like before the Civil War. Like the historical timeline needs to be a little more cogent. I get your point though, and I think what Copley was trying to emphasize is that yes, history repeats itself, but that doesn't mean that it's always the same, right? You may have the same event. For example, if we are struggling now with this issue of free speech suppression, there have been other monumental times in American history, like the Red Scare, the McCarthy era, where people were penalized for their speech. People lost their jobs. Companies went bankrupt, right? Because the government was on a quest to root out communism. And so everything someone said or did or meeting they went to, a friend they had who may have slightly smelled like a communist, people were punished for that, right? So now the issue isn't communism, it's something else. Now the economic conditions are different, but people are still losing their jobs. So it is the sentiment or the policy return or the practice return. It's not always a literal one-to-one. So yes, we have progressed significantly over time, but because we are living in a democracy, we will return and revisit certain circumstances or situations as the population grows, as economic conditions change, as culture change. We have to revisit these things for the new people. But the fight or the commitment to the idea, to the ideal, or to the principle can't change. If you are for, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, you have to be for that all the time. How you fight for it, it's gonna look different, but that's still the same principle. So hopefully that makes sense.
Just, I think the reason why I wanted to understand who you were first before I gave an opinion about how you were exploring your ideas is because I wanted to understand the type of person you were and what your worldview is. I think anybody that would lecture you that you're not doing it right, that you're seeking for information, it's not the right way to do it, that there are gaps in your logic and reasoning, is somebody that would indoctrinate you into their belief system. I think you're approaching. I think you're approaching these questions.
You're annoying. No one is indoctrinating anyone. That is a process of scientific reasoning. That is not telling people what to think. You're an
your approach to information was exploratory. I think you were asking just questions, and it was a very respectful back and forth, and it's the way you should engage in the exploration of your ideas and understanding the frontier of what you're studying.
It's not a frontier, it's a landscape, sir.
And you have to be prepared to defend your position, but at the same time have an open mind to accept opinions. I think you've done that exceptionally well with Just. I would just like to ask you a question. I noticed that you kind of hinged a lot of your questions that you had with Just based on the Black community and our fight for freedom and our fight against oppression and that type of thing. Talking about the Kitover wars and that type of thing. I'm curious, where do you think you find yourself? At what time in the liberation struggle for Black Americans, where do you think you find yourself? Do you think you find yourself on the frontier of that fight? That this is a new front to Black liberation, or do you find yourself, at the end of the fight, having won it and starting to step over into the promised land?
That question for me?
That's for you.
I see where I'm at right now. I see myself. I think it's stagnant. I think we are still, despite the changes that have been made. I think a lot of the changes that have been made were to pacify us. I think we have been very pacified and we've got very comfortable. But I think a lot of the same issues that we've been had, we're still having. Like,
what do you think the reason is for that?
Because we are living on land that's being controlled by people who don't want to see us progress. They don't care for that. That's not their interest.
And how do you see yourself regaining your sovereignty and your self-determination from the stolen land that the people that occupy this land lives on with you?
Me personally?
Yes.
Me personally, in my own personal life, I'm just going to, like I was saying earlier, with like focusing on the younger people under me. That's I want to focus on building my community up, and like that's all I can do is what I can do. Now, as for like a whole, as everybody who live here, white, black, yellow, green, all of us as a whole need to stand up and actually do something. We're not doing anything. We like voting and all that. That shit it's not doing it. It's not. Because if it was doing it, it would have been done.
I would challenge you, and then I'll give it back to the stage. I would challenge you to consider the voting habits of your people and whether that served your people well or not, right? Because I would argue that we have to critically analyze what are the beneficial outcomes from the decisions that we've been making over the last 30, 40, 50 years. I'm inclined to agree with you that we are at a bit of the word turning point has been used a lot over the last 2 weeks, but it's just an apt word or phrase to use right now. I do believe we're at a turning point culturally within Black America. We're realizing that our schools are no good. We're realizing that our people are too far dependent on the government for their sustenance, their well-being, their food and shelter. They're realizing that the political interests of the elite are not serving them well. They're realizing that their political alignment has been sabotaged by an agenda that takes advantage of them. I do believe we're at a turning point. What I would encourage you to do is I would encourage you to continue to explore those ideas, but look at it from the lens, and this is not me telling you how to do it, I would just encourage you to do it. Look at it from the lens of self-determination. What is your value system, right? What is your community's value system? Does your community value self-determination? No. Does your community value, well then you should change that, right? So you should be able to, exactly. So I think you should definitely explore what that looks like. Because self-determination for us for far too long has not been a value system that we've held, at least not for the last 40 or 50 years. But now we're having a renaissance, and this time period, this cultural time period that we're living in, is revealing the true intentions of the entrepreneurs that's been exploiting our community. On the left and the right. I like to work against the left all the time, but I can be open-minded enough to know that both the left and the right has taken advantage of Black Americans for far too long. You can look at corporations, advantage, the redlining and shit like that. These are things that have been promoted on the right. But at the same time, it's also been promoted on the left. With the crime bill and with the military, the prison industrial complex.
Same side, and the left.
So what I want to do, it is, but at the same time.
And TC, you got 30 seconds, my dude.
Yeah. I'm 6 minutes into a meeting that my team is on. So
all right, well, you're about to be 30 seconds.
I don't get a lot of applause.
Now you got 20 more.
Because I encourage people to think against the groupthink. Groupthink wants herd mentality. That's where survival is. That's where instincts are. But far too often, when you follow the herd, you can follow the herd off the cliff. So I want to challenge provocative thought, and I think that's exactly the path that you're down. I would encourage you to continue to use the Socratic method to explore your ideas and your worldview. Because I think
The Socratic method. How would you just read Socrates, motherfucker? You can just read Socrates. You ain't even got to use the Socratic method. You can just read motherfucking Socrates.
Now, I'll let you hear that, and we tried to go as uninterrupted because I do want you to be both sides. So as you go through life, there will be silly Negroes that come and do this very thing that TC just did. They will try to feed you a bootstraps mentality and a self-determination mentality. This is not true. Do not fall for that.
Self-determination is not true.
TC, please let me finish. I'll let you finish. So, this comes from a place of hating yourself and wanting to get your good nigger sticker from a white man and wanting to point things out about your own community, and which is great. I do believe in being critical of oneself, but don't ever be the black man that allows other people or another group of people to make you think that somehow your group is lazy or less than economic reasons why black people are in the spaces they're in. But when you look at the rate of how almost anything happens, especially anything negative, they happen at the same rate because people are people, black, white, green, or blue. And that's different from what TC said, is focus on trying to better the resources, the economic situations, anything that you can do to further your community, and I mean black community. That's what you should focus on. Not finger wagging, not going around telling people that they're, they said that's not changing anything. We've had black people do that for centuries, and it hasn't done anything. So I'll let you hear TC side, but I would advise you as a person who's older than TC and a little bit more wise and graduated from a better school to not listen to him. Thank you.
I can respect that. respect that.
Just, I had a question for you. So, you're saying, I'm gonna say what I got and you let me know if it's right. Basically, like, this shit isn't working and it all needs to crumble and Trump's gonna make it crumble and ultimately that's a good thing. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Right, like let's say, okay, you've convinced all of us in this room and beyond, we see it, we're down. What do we do next? Go ahead.
We put people in position who actually care about people.
So you're saying we elect better people?
We put humans in office, yes. We put humans with that has feelings and understands other people's feelings and cares about other people's feelings and their livelihoods.
Okay. So this is where I'm confused because the system of the idea that we're going to elect good people and actual humans who care about other people, that's a system, democracy, elections, but you're saying that's not done anything for us, fuck all of that. So then if that all crumbles, how do we elect those people? Are you saying like, we'll just create our own version of democracy after this democracy falls, or how does it work?
I think it works, in a way it worked, I can't even think of the year, I don't think about an exact year. But the times where we used to trade, everything was based on trades. I think we go back to those simple times, like we keep shit simple. Like we've overcomplicated everything. Now we arguing over how much America is in debt and how much minimum wage is, and all. It's a bunch of nonsense. If everybody just be humans and work together, we can all have everything we want. Nobody will be poor. Nobody will be homeless. We can definitely live in abundance if we just stop playing their game. That's all we got to do is just stop fucking playing. That's why I said stop paying bills. I know it sounds crazy,
What is it?
but the shit we talking about is fucking crazy. What do you mean $15 an hour? Like what? Like all of this shit is fucking crazy. It just is.
You're very idealistic, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But because I was, but you just gotta manage expectations, bro. Like, the world that you think is available in reality, it's kind of just not. And you gotta work within the parameters that you're given at whatever specific time. Like, black people just stop playing the game. It's really not that simple. That's like pretty much that we out of here if we stop playing the game.
Definitely a Christian.
We have to play the game.
So white people are getting broken as well.
He's a Christian, yeah.
I'm not saying that they aren't, but the way that black people are affected is always going to be different from any other group. So even if you just put it poor people or however you want to classify it, we live in a closed system, right? So it's not, you have to dismantle it or do whatever you plan on doing from the inside. Just saying these statements and just thinking like people will be like, yeah, we're gonna works. I get it, I understand it, I want to be like that too, but life lets you know that things work different. It's just not that simple. But I don't fault you for having, for thinking the way that you think though.
I want to change your stance for a minute. Walk me down the ripple effect if every American, every honest living American who pays taxes, walk me down the ripple effect if everybody stops paying the mortgage, stop paying car notes, stop shopping at the grocery stores and start growing their own food. What's the ripple effect?
You said growing their own food?
Yes.
So, cause you went out, I don't know if it was my phone or yours. You said stop. You said stopped or started. I can't hear it.
If we instead of shopping in grocery stores, we growing our own food. Instead of taking our kids to school, we building our own curriculums, things like that. Well, like say if we just stop playing our game, like what's the ripple effect of us stop paying our bills, stop shopping in grocery stores, stop paying?
I mean, it's to stop. Okay, so let's take it one at a time. Stop shopping at grocery stores. Non-starter. Most of us live in urban environments. We don't have any land. We don't have the capacity to grow the food that we need to sustain us. So that's a nod. That's like, that's out before it even starts.
Okay, you say that. However, everybody is still buying food, right? So there is spaces to grow the food.
But you have to own that space. You have to have access to that space. We do not as civilians.
We have people in position that's doing that right now. But I'm saying, okay,
so hold on. So do you think they're just going to give up their access, their land for us to go and grow our own little corner of food?
Yes, if we fight for it. Because right, like you said, right now we don't have land to do this. Like God made land for us to grow food everywhere. Like we have earth, there's land everywhere. We don't own nothing. That's what I'm saying. We have to get out that mindset of thinking that that's what I'm. That's
people have deeds and paperwork to this stuff.
Exactly.
And courts and a system.
Exactly.
That
all that shit has to be undone. All that shit needs to be undone. Because they don't own this shit to sell it to anybody anywhere. This is God's land.
Yeah, no.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, what are we? Because this is real, this isn't, do you think you can make this case in a court of law and it be successful? Like, no. This is God's land.
No.
Alright, so then,
to be implemented.
But what I'm saying is, what's smarter to do with your time? Think about something that has little to no chance of flying, or in the meantime figuring out something that could penetrate or could do something. So that's what I'm saying. I like these expansive ideas. They sound beautiful, lovely, but they're not gonna happen, bro. They're not. So
it's not. It's really not gonna happen as long as we still believe in the American dream. If we're still asleep thinking like, okay, I need to do this so I can do that and pay these bills so I can whatever the fuck, or split this into savings so I can afford my daughter's house. Like we still think we're still on the fucking hamster wheel.
So let's just say you get 50 million people to agree with you, and we all say, fuck, we ain't paying our electric bill this month. What do you think changes?
So
other than 50 million people just have needs or take showers and stuff.
Lights out.
It's not gonna those people are still going to there's no real
Okay, so look, let's say 50 million people stop, right?
You do a lot.
So let's say
and here water is another guy that you don't need along your way. And he's the guy that's not black, that don't know about your struggle, but is gonna try to set your ass up to do stupid shit that he wouldn't do himself. So you gotta watch out for the waters and the TCs. But go ahead, bro.
And the judge, that's a fucking liar.
That's true.
Can I ask, are you, water, or it's directed at Just, are you familiar with MOVE from Philadelphia? MOVE, 1970s MOVE? You know about that, Just?
What about MOVE?
Say that one more time.
MOVE.
It's a group. What about the group?
So, Dr. A.G., will you allow me to explain what it is in case he doesn't know, or would you prefer I not?
That's my question. What about the group?
Okay, so the group they're a Black liberation group. They promoted back to nature, anti-government, a lot of the same values that you're describing. They were known for living communally. They rejected mainstream culture. They were challenging the city authorities, especially the Philadelphia Police Department, they were, non-traditional. It's the vision you're describing, basically. And in 1978, after years of complaints from their neighbors about the noise or their confrontational behavior, basically anti-blackness, if you ask me, the police tried to evict them from their homes. So this standoff occurred in August 1978, and in the course of that stand-up, a police officer was killed, and a lot of others were injured in a shootout. So they arrested a lot of them, and 9 of them were convicted of third-degree murder, sentenced from everything from 30 to 100 years in prison. Now, after that, they continued to be a movement, and in 1985, people were complaining again, and city officials, including the first black mayor of Philadelphia, authorized a massive police operation against them. Right? So it was like almost 500 police officers, armored vehicles, tear gas, the whole thing up. They still refused to surrender, the MOVE members. So the police literally bombed the house that they were living in from a Pennsylvania State Police helicopter. It caused a massive fire. The firefighters who normally fight fires, they were told, let it burn, just let it burn. 11 people died, including 5 children. 61 homes were destroyed in the area. They left over 250 people homeless. This is the first time in U.S. history that this kind of military-style bombing against, the country's own citizens has been allowed. And since then, no one was held, no city official, no police officer was criminally charged. There were civil lawsuits and things, but no one was really, held accountable for doing all of that damage. So I bring that up just to say that if we don't, this vision that you have that I don't necessarily agree with, honestly, a lot of it sounds pretty good. But if we don't think it all the way through, because you're saying what we need for this to happen is for everyone to participate. You're never going to get everyone to participate, right? We can't get everyone to do anything. So as long as there's a few people who don't want to participate, and they're given the guns and the helicopters and the bombs, right, shit can turn out very badly and very dangerously. So in your vision, it's not that the vision is bad, but it takes it thinking it all the way through to the end. I'll end.
Okay. So with the I don't even touch on a lot of different points.
Yeah, Justice's vision is a lot more benign, I should say, than what the MOVE activists were doing. I mean, nothing legitimizes the response, but it wasn't as benign is what Just is talking about. But I just want to say, I know I was hoping there's only one. I was hoping Culture Lee would come off his mic, but how did this get started? What was the original question? What was going on?
I think I shook the room when I stated that I like Trump.
You didn't shake it, baby. You didn't shake the room.
That's exactly how it started.
Yeah.
That was at 7:30 in the morning.
He did this.
Stupid.
No, it's not that you're stupid. I don't think you're stupid, bro. But I think I think what you're doing is stupid. I don't think you're stupid, though.
I'm talking about something that hasn't been done yet. That's the reason why.
It's not. And I'm glad you're here, Dr. AG, because you're probably going to repeat a lot of just so you know, I wasn't being funny with you. The thing that you think is so, innovative, it's just
I'm not saying it's innovative. I'm talking about on a scale to where we actually see.
Let me just tell her what happened.
Hold hold on, Jess. This is the thing, right? I think it's great to say, like, I have this wonderful idea and I want to do this thing. But for you to say it's never been done before, it's sort of, it betrays a certain level of uninformedness, because what you are describing it's not a thing that has never happened before, that people have not tried before. So if you're gonna talk, then I can't talk, so I'm gonna go on mute and then you can finish and then I'll finish when you're done.
I'm sorry, I'm muted.
Oh, that's okay. Because if we look throughout, we don't even have to go throughout American history. If we just go back, we can go back 100 years, right? And we can look at communities that have established this living arrangement that you described. Now, Malik's invocation of the MOVE thing is a good example, but MOVE was doing a whole lot of other stuff. Like, they were also a political organization. Their form of life was a political act. So that's a different kind of communal living. In the 60s and 70s, you had all kind of communes where people were collectively living. So that's not new, right? And even if we take it to the level of developing insular economic systems within these communal living type situations, that is not historically new. Now, you may be adding something to it, but the concept is not historically new. And so to say that it's something that hasn't been done before is to suggest that your research on this thing as a project and a possibility is limited. And now, having said that, my final comment is that should not be taken as an insult. That should be, I would hope that you would see it as an invitation to look into it more, right? To read more. And like you mentioned, the book Beyond Behold the Pale Horse. Okay, that's a great book, but there are nonfiction books that you can read as well that can expand sort of your understanding of those things. I don't think it's that way. I think it's Michael Kennedy has this amazing book that's called Niggers, the history of the word. I recommend that you read that because it's about that word, but there's also psychological and sociological analysis of sort of Black people's relationship to this country over time. That is an amazing read for someone who is interested in the things that you are interested in. So that's my final comment. You can go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. They're gonna have the White House press briefing soon, so y'all go ahead and keep talking, but I'm about to play that.
Awesome.
The one, yeah, autism.
All right, so what I'm saying is, I'm not saying I'm saying something that's never been thought about, or I'm not saying I'm innovating something, a brand new idea. What I'm saying is, okay, as many people that are participating in the game today have never opted out all at once. As many people that are paying bills and going to work and working for wages that are just unlivable wages, as many people that are doing this today, that many people have never opted out the game since the game started. Show me in history where that's happened.
I don't understand the question. Say it one more time.
I'm saying,
Is this
as many people,
Are you involved in this?
Wally, please.
this is what I'm saying. Look, first let me clear this up. This is just what I see as.
No. Don't go back. Just
Okay.
ask the question.
So what I'm saying is, okay, as many people that are participating in this American dream, chasing this American dream, trying to live whatever life people want for themselves, which is
whatever they
if you
define
should, and as you should, respectfully. Now, as many people who are participating in this American dream are participating in the race towards the American dream. Show me in history where that many millions of people have opted out the game all at once.
Well, nobody can show you that because by virtue.
That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. This is where it becomes a little illogical because by virtue of being in America, right, remaining active in the American project, we commit to certain things. And one of those commitments is to the fundamental sort of principles of America, which is the pursuit of freedom, economic freedom, physical freedom, right? So you can't be a part of the American project and opt out of the American project at the same time. So that's like, that doesn't
That's why I'm saying we need to opt out of the American project.
We can't unless you're
Yes,
gonna.
all we have to do is just stop. Just stop.
No, listen to what I'm saying. We can't do that if we are going to continue to exist in America. That is a recipe for disaster.
America was
I think you might be.
I want you to stop talking out of No, absolutely not, sir. You just got on the stage. You need to listen before you start.
I'm in this room here, y'all want it. That's all I'm hearing, y'all talk.
I'm not doing that. Just, what was your comment, sir? I'm sorry.
I agree. Doc, at a certain point, you have got to realize, like, the conversation actually, it doesn't actually, he's not budging. He's not really trying to learn it from you. He's made up his mind. He finds the conversation entertaining. Like, you tell us, like,
stop, bro. Because you insinuate a lot of stuff.
Patty, do you have that video you're gonna play? Thank you. Can we get that video? Thank you. Can we get that video? Thank you. We've been hearing this for 3 hours. Whoever got here at the 3-hour mark or the 2-hour mark, we've been listening to this for 3 hours. How many that is that I want to hear fucking Trump over this bullshit? You're not getting to him. Take him into a private.
Okay, so I wasn't trying to get to him.
You shut up and let her roll the clip. You shut up. We gotta come on.
You're not gonna tell her to shut up.
Well,
You're not gonna do that.
And that is, whoever you are, shut up. This is insane. Y'all men need to really get control. I don't know if it's the Axe body spray or, I don't know, that T-Kirk shit that them football players be selling on the TV. I don't know what it is, but y'all's brain, something is really wrong with it. The fragmentation in your brain really needs to be looked at. This is absurd, the way y'all just scream. It's just so disrespectful. Oh, it's disgusting.
good morning, y'all.
Go on mute, man.
Gotta defrag them brains.
Yeah, it's
It doesn't start until 1 o'clock, but I guess we can talk about the.
oh man.
Damn, Trump, you fucked up again. Yeah, they're talking about a bunch of clips and whatever, but let me go ahead and play this MSNBC clip real quick, and it's talking about there is no link in the doctor reviewing Trump's claims. Supposedly, they found the connection. Is what he claims yesterday. He said they're going to come out with some great news, supposedly some connection to autism and why we have so many autistic children.
They're gonna say it's Tylenol. Yeah, how it stems from the
Tylenol. We all know they're going to say Tylenol because
Tylenol!
right.
Take no Tylenol!
And somebody made the point that they're like, they just want women. They just want women to suffer because Tylenol is the only pain medicine that women can use when they're pregnant.
Dr. AG, someone wanted you to drop the book that you referenced and the author in the chat, if possible.
Oh, okay, I will do that.
answer to autism. We're going to be talking about this new
The medical industrial complex is very concerned about what Donald Trump is saying. Tylenol!
Now, according to 4 people,
It ain't a vaccine! Don't say the white vaccine! Tylenol!
pregnant women taking acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, to an increased risk of autism in children. Current FDA guidelines say acetaminophen is safe.
Tylenol healthy for you!
And that's backed up by decades of research.
Tylenol!
Tylenol's parent company.
Everybody go buy more Tylenol!
The drug, quote, women face dangerous choices, suffer through conditions like fever that are potentially harmful to both mom and baby, or use riskier alternatives. Let's bring in Dr. Vin Gupta, a pulmonologist and MSNBC medical contributor. Doctor, we've all been told Tylenol is the safe pain reliever to take when you're pregnant, and any possible link between that and autism has been thoroughly studied before, right? What do we know?
Good morning. What we know is that there's been years of research prior to recently that's shown a correlation but not causation of Tylenol, maybe a very small increased risk of a baby developing autism. Very small. And those are poor quality studies, totally designed.
Very small!
So it was that science changes.
Well, how small, doctor?
2 years ago, one of the largest, best quality research studies ever done, 25 years in Sweden, looked at siblings, one exposed in utero, the other not, to Tylenol. And what did I find? On
Tylenol!
Genetics, family history, maternal, paternal age, known risk factors for autism, that there was no link. So the best quality research has shown no link between the use of Tylenol in utero or during pregnancy for the development of autism.
President Trump actually seemed to this weekend that today's announcement could be wrong. Take a listen.
I don't want to wait any longer. We don't need anything more. And if it's wrong, it's not going to be wrong. But if it is wrong, it's fine. We have to do it. Because we're going to have an announcement on autism.
Yeah. Dr. Gupta, your reaction. What are the implications if they make this link?
Well, it's going to be one of the similar line things. You and I have talked about this endlessly of using a similar approach. They don't know. They put something out there and it's cherry picking data. You're not worried about women across the country. You put this, you said this in the TIA. There aren't many for oral pain relief if you have to take a medication. You know, I say this watching my wife go through 2 pregnancies and needing this.
So basically, wherever these things are, not only at the moment of our birth, but in different times, there's what are called transits. And
get to their point because you're gonna fucking go over the mouth over there because you're fucking lost because you're too stupid right now. So again, you overextended on your skis and now you're about to tip the fuck over. The reason we do forward deployed bases, why we have a multitude of bases around the world and we have various satellite ones, is because that is the key to our fucking strength, you fucking moron. It's the way we can win wars. Because we realize that, hey, we have 2 ginormous fucking ponds on either side of us, and our only allies, truly allies, are literally Canada and Mexico because they have the shared interest of land invasion with us. That's it. And oh, by the way, Mexico, last time I checked, unless there's going to be a taco truck with M60s on top of it, I don't really fucking know. What do they got? The burrito missile? Is that going to fucking do it? Are they going to send chalupas over and hope everybody gets satiated on fat? I'm sorry. In Canada, yeah, they have the military, but it's a lackluster one because they've drawn down over the decades. They've reduced their numbers and their spending. They stopped shipbuilding. They've stopped exploration. They've stopped development, and they rely solely on South Korea. They rely on the United States. And guess who else they rely on for weapons development? Oh, that's right. Everybody's favorite bingo card, Israel. So now, with that being said, when we look at where we're at with strategic allies and intervention, in order for our empire, the American empire, to reign, it has to have these areas where we can deploy wheels up, tits up, cocked, locked, and ready to rock within 6 hours. You cannot do that from our nation across the pond. So this is why it's very important. And when the U.S. sets up a Bagram base, which is
very much a eye-opening thing. Trump may have just said it just to get China's attention. He may have actually had intent. Maybe the Taliban is in talks to say, hey, we'd like to have Bagram, over to you guys. We'd like to have you guys here providing aid and doing non-conflict intervention roles with us. Maybe they want that kind of thing. You don't know, because I'm pretty sure your fucking wannabe ass isn't in those fucking discussions. Nor is mine, nor is anybody on the stages. So I don't know. We'll have to wait for further developments. But I do know that China posed that threat, and that was the rationale behind stating that we wanted Bagram. Now, how he goes about it, we'll have to see. But you don't know that. They didn't win the fucking war. They didn't do anything except fucking just shoot hot rifles at us and fucking cause us harm for 20 years. And I'll give you that. They did a great job. They defended their nation twice. But no one's really gone in there to conquer and rule Afghanistan. If we wanted to, we would have fucking carpet bombed them and bombed them all to hell. And we never did any of that shit. We just did strategic bombs. So, like, your idea of warfare is so ridiculous. Also, we can't run drones from fucking halfway across the globe over to target.
24/7
missiles. You can't do. We can do it with other planes. We have some missiles and some array, but the vast majority are not reaching from New York City to fucking Beijing. It's just not happening. So when we look at this and say, hey, why do we need carrier groups? Well, there's a whole lot of